Alright, so apparently after doing some research online, remember I was saying in the last video those small slots in the head kind of threw me off a little bit. Well, apparently some of the old smog heads were made that way, and they act as the guide plate. So you use non-self-aligning on those. So we're going to take all the guide plates off, put our non-self-aligning rockers arms on, put the studs back in, torque them down, and put the non-self-aligning rockers arms and see how well they center up with the back of the valve stem. If they all center up good, we're just going to set the valves. Be done with it. See how it does. Alright, Austin's got all the guide plates off. Make absolutely sure that your push rod is down inside the plunger on the lifter. Sometimes it's hard to see down in there, but make sure you check that before you go to putting your rocker arms on. And when you put your rocker arms on, make sure the push rod goes up in there on the rocker arm. Now, on these, well, here's one up here. We'll just use this one. Now, on these stamped steel deals, you got this washer here. Round end goes down. Like I said in the last video, on the nut, these are self-locking nuts too. They shouldn't be easy to take on and put off. They should fight you a little bit, because if they're loose, they will back out on you. So if they don't screw in kind of tight, you need to replace them. But anyway, the flat end goes down. Now, when you set these with your socket, make sure that your socket isn't pushing down on that washer or the sides of the rocker arms, or you're not going to get a good setting when you go to set the rocker arms. So kind of try to just push the socket barely halfway down over the nut, so you're not pushing down. See, like you can push down on that washer. That's going to throw you off when you're trying to check your up and down play on your push rod. But just a little tip there. Alright, so we got all the rockers on and got them close. Now we're going to turn it over until the exhaust valve starts to open.
That's the intake.
Like the intake's starting to open on that one. So once it goes down and starts to close, we can go ahead and set the exhaust. 5 and 7 will be real close together. 1 8 4 3 6 5 7, and then 2. And these cylinders are on this side 1 3 5 7. But the intake valve's opening right there. We're on 3. We already set this front one.
If I can get the freaking socket on there.
Yeah, the fan's kind of in the way.
Struggling big time.
And again, this is the intake port. That's the intake valve. And then over there is the exhaust port lined up with this one, so that's the exhaust valve. Now we're on the bolt. Now we can turn it. We can't get much bite on it. Now, you'll see it's starting to go down. That's the intake. So when intake starts to close, you can do the exhaust. Actually, the way I do it, to be honest with you, when I'm doing this, I wait till the intake valve closes, and I just turn the motor over a little bit, about an 1/8 turn, and I do both. So right there, the intake valve closed. Nope, it didn't close all the way. It's still going down. Yep, still going down. Right there. So it's down. Give it one more little turn. Make sure both the lobes are on the base circle. Yeah, there you go. So when the intake valve closes, it puts them both on the base circle. And I usually just set them both right there. But what a lot of people do is the exhaust starts to open, you set the intake. And then the intake almost completely closes, and then you set the exhaust. But if you wait till the intake closes completely and just turn it over just a hair, it puts them both on the base lobe. And I usually just set them both like that. But now, when you set them, again, make sure that your socket don't get pushed down on that washer, because if it does, it's going to throw you off. But you're looking for, see, up and down movement. See that up and down movement? We want that up and down movement to just go away. We're going to tighten that up until this just goes away. And we got no up and down movement. After that, then we turn this nut 1/4 to 1/2 turn. And that's it, guys. That is it. Up and down movement. Tighten that up just a little. A little goes a long way. Take the socket off. That way you know you're not pushing on nothing. Go ahead and start tightening it down there. Just make sure you're not on the washer. Alright, so he dropped the socket. He's got to go get that. Alright, now we're tightening it up.
How much we got?
A little bit. Quite a bit. Whoa, slow down. Alright, so you also want to make sure that the back of the valve don't start going down too. So, take the socket out. I mean, just a hair more. A little bit more than that. There you go. Now do your 1/4 to 1/2 turn. I usually just do a 1/4. On the race motors, I only do an 1/8 turn. But on something like this, I'll do a 1/4 to 1/2. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I do intake valve closes. I turn the motor over just a little bit. I make sure it completely closes. And then I turn the motor over, I don't know, about 1/8 of a turn. And then I just set them both. But if you want to make absolutely sure they're both on the base lobe, exhaust starts to open, set the intake. And then intake almost completely closes, and then you set the exhaust. And again, you can look at these. That's the exhaust valve. And then this one lines up with the intake runner. On a small block Chevy, it goes exhaust, intake, intake, exhaust. Exhaust, intake, intake, exhaust. There you go, guys. We're going to set all these just like that. And that's how you do it. Alright, we did this side the same way. Turn the light off here. Now when you do these, you want to look at the threads from the top to your nuts, and they all should be about the same. If they ain't, there's something wrong. That's just a little tip too. Yeah, they're all set.